Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of our Lunchtime Linkup series, where we talk with members of the Div Inc community about how we're impacting the tech ecosystem with diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility as our guide. I'm your host, Sharice Luter. I'm the marketing director here at Div Inc. And I don't know if you've been watching and looking and paying attention to our social media lately, but we recently have announced that we are partnering with Blavityorg to bring a series of events to the AfroTech Conference week in November. Um, AfroTech is in Austin this year. I don't know if you knew about that too. Check it out. But we had the amazing opportunity to work with the Blavity org team. And today we have the executive director with us to talk with us about the event, talk about their work, and just, talk about how we're impacting the ecosystem, like I said. So, Tammy, if you want to take it over and just introduce us and tell us a bit about Blavity.org.
Yeah, Sharice, thanks so much for having me. I've been just so excited and energized by the partnership with Div Inc. And it's been such a pleasure to work with you and the Div Inc. team. So I'm Tammy Gordon. Tamyra is my government name. I'm the executive director for Blavity.org Foundation, which is our official name, and we are the social impact arm to Blavity Inc., which is the largest Black-owned digital media company and house to probably every Black brand that we consume on the gram or Twitter. Their flagship channel was Blavity News and Travel Noir. They acquired Shadow and Act. There's a Blavity U now for the HBCU and college community. Um, Web3. There's so many things now. And so for AfroTech, which is a part of the event series that will be at AfroTech, is their staple program. It's been running for the longest amount of time, and it is everything that is Black tech and now Web3. So they've added that piece of tech and accessibility to their community and audience by layering on some information and access to the Web3 world. And where we sit in all of that as Blavity.org is, generally the founders of Blavity.org, Morgan, Aaron, and Jeff, who are my board of directors, they believed and believe that they create a company that would just show Black people in joyful states. Like, let's just get to a place where Black people have joy. And the nonprofit gets to mobilize that a bit to say, like, what happens when Black people are joyful? What can we do? What can we create? And really holding entrepreneurship and our relationship with entrepreneurship as the center of that, with this firm belief that our freedom and our ability to do and create the life that we want will be done in this space of freedom, and entrepreneurship is really that vehicle to freedom. So the mission of Blavity.org is to support generational wealth of Black entrepreneurs. We do that in three ways: Black Gravity Spaces, which are the name for the events that we host that we're doing in partnership with you guys. We run a fellowship. That was our launch program and our flagship program, and then we offer sponsorship to access the ecosystem that is Blavity Inc. So there are about 250 students who, because of donations and generous gifts from funders, will be able to access AfroTech for free via the scholarship. And so we're really excited. We're only a 2-year-old organization. And so really just trying to mobilize like all that's good and joyful around Black folks to say, like, let's figure out what's possible if we do things together.
Yeah, I love how much y'all focus in on how that community aspect leads to that empowerment and how, doing it together is the best way that we are able to do it at all. So, yeah, like you said, we're so excited to partner with y'all. And I mean, talk about mission aligned and wanting to see some great things for Black people, but also just people of color, because we do have some things in common with all of us trying to have representation in this tech space and in this world in general. So, so excited. Let's talk a little bit about the work we're doing together and how exactly did we come to this partnership. And I get to tell a little bit on my side, but I'd love you to start how we came about.
Serendipity.
Yeah.
No, we're out here pursuing alignment, right? Like that's what we're out here doing. But in all fairness, so a core part of our programming model as we launched over the last 18 months was like, we are going to work with communities and start from grassroots and ground level and try to bring corporations, partners, and funders, like, and connect the two in between. And so we're based in Los Angeles, but have done programming this year in DC. We will be in Austin and had a series of events in Southern California. We're just like, look, my background's in nonprofit. I've been in nonprofit for the last 18 years. And so there's a lot of us doing a lot of incredible work. And we can't do it by ourselves. And somehow we've convinced ourselves that we've got to do all the things and run wraparound services and be super holistic. And I want to just challenge the notion that, like, there's a lot of us doing really great things. And what if we just did the thing we did really, really well, but we did it together, and then everybody got access to all those things? So it's a core component of how we approach all of our work. This was no different when we got invited to come to Austin to think about doing some programming for both our fellows who are in the fellowship and ending their program with us, and then doing some events for the community. Our board member, who's connected to Div Inc, was like, hey, Div Inc is in Austin and you guys should be doing some work with them. And we started a conversation, and really it was you guys, right? The mission part is important, right? But now you get past the mission and say, okay, we're all out here trying to see Black folks, people of color win, right? Like, we've all got a stake in that game. Then can we do this together? Like, are you in a collaborative mindset? Is your spirit aligned to, like, wanting to figure out how to put all of these pieces together? And you guys were, like, from our first conversation, it was just so easy. And it was, yes, just figure out how. And we've been figuring out the how for the last few months. But it's really like this ease of alignment that I think for the .org side allows this model of collaboration to work in the way that it does. And I keep reiterating, I'm just so excited that we get to figure out how to do this together.
Yeah, I mean, when we're all about creating not necessarily bubbles, but like little spaces within these larger conversations and these larger events. And one of the largest events in Austin happens in March, South by Southwest. And so we provide this little space for our founders and founders who look like our founders to have a safe place to land and really feel like this is our space within this larger piece. So working with you all, it just made perfect sense for us to do the exact same thing for two particular areas of two particular topics within this larger AfroTech conversation. And we came up with two particular events that we're going to be two areas, and one's a women's focused event, and the other is more focused on fundraising, and that's either venture capital or all the ways that founders are able to fund their companies. And I'll let you talk a little bit about the women's event, but we really thought let's make some spaces for these conversations to happen as part of this huge AfroTech event. But yeah, talk about the women's event. I love hearing you talk about it, to be honest.
It's so exciting. So our Black Gravity spaces, which is just taking Blavity's name, Black Gravity, and pulling it back apart so that people can imagine, like, oh yeah, there's that thing that happens when we all get into a room, or we are the majority in a mixed room, to be like, oh wait, there's more than one of me here.
Yeah.
Like my swag's a little higher, right? There's something that happens. And so that Black Gravity, which is what Blavity is and what the organization itself has been founded on, is what we're bringing into the work that you guys do around, like, supporting women and BIPOC women around accessing both VC but resources in the community to really level up their businesses. So the November 14th event, which is essentially like our women's empowerment event, and we're pulling apart some of the pieces that are core components to our Black Gravity space, which is tools that are slightly unconventional, right? There's this, like, hey, my work and my business and who I am shouldn't be separate from who I feel I am as a person, like what my spirit calls me to do and what my soul is feeling. Like, if I'm here on assignment and I'm here doing the ancestors' work, then everything I put out and do should be aligned to that. And so we've curated a really great bench of facilitators who will participate in this event, two of which will be at this event, who talk a lot about that, where it's just like, this is my journey as an entrepreneur. Here's how I use tools that maybe we think are taboo or haven't really related with or have related with in a very superficial way. So astrology and astronomy and spirituality being like some of the ones that they'll tap into and say like, well, what if they weren't taboo? And what if they were actually like conduits of power? How could I use that to contextualize the resources that I get, like through access to a VC, through conversations with other women who have navigated this space that typically is not for people of color, let alone women, right? So really that intersection. So we're sandwiching all of that together to be like, look, let's get really clear on who we are as women, as Black women, as women of color, and be okay with that, right? And like sit in the uniqueness of what all of that is. Let's then like work with some women and listen to some women who have done this and have accessed the money. Like the coins are out there, right? So we need a little bit of that capitalism to navigate this world that we're in. It can't all be about just our soul's purpose. So how do we match our soul's purpose to like access those things? Um, and then end the day with, now let me put that into practice, right? So maybe the $1 million check is not coming from somebody I meet at AfroTech, but maybe a 6-figure check will. And so how can I use this space to then navigate an opportunity like AfroTech or South by Southwest or any of the other events that I go to? How do I use this to navigate those spaces really powerfully and authentically? And then we've got this performer who I just love Tony. And Cherise, you know this, but I love Tony Jones. Take up space is like, that's the anthem. Anytime I have a board meeting, anytime I have to walk into a room with a whole bunch of strangers, I'm like, all right, let me take up some space. Let me listen to Tony Jones and get me realigned. But she's also an example of a woman who, like, her work and her soul purpose weren't aligned. And she said, well, what if I changed it? Like, what if I just went after the thing that I really cared about and I felt like I was called here to do? Could I do it and do it well and do it in a way that impacts other people? And so she created this whole genre of music around affirmation rap and affirmation music to be like, hey, here's me, let me offer my power to everybody else. So that's the 14th. We're super excited. I think we've got like 200 or 300 women who are signed up to come to this. So it'll be a full house. There's still some spaces, but if you haven't registered, like please do, because we've got an incredible lineup. And then it leads us into the 15th, which like is the thing Div Inc. does incredibly well, and like why this partnership and the synergies have been so cool, because we get to bring in the things that we both do really well and offer it to groups of people.
Yeah, and so the 15th is all about we're going to have a fundraising conversation with VCs and those who work with founders who are building their story and building their pitch and really figuring out how to present themselves so that they can fundraise and build a thriving company. So, like you said, that's one of the things that Div Inc is known for. Approaching these financial conversations and these business conversations with authenticity and teaching our founders that they do not have to leave themselves at the threshold in order to be able to enter in, and teaching them how to find mission-aligned organizations. You should not have to change yourself in order to be successful, and maybe that's just not the right partner for you. And being comfortable in saying no, and let your no's be no's and those yeses be yeses. And so this conversation on the 15th, we will have about fundraising with authenticity and true storytelling, and taking your experiences and turning it into a compelling argument for why they should believe in you and why you're the person to bring this in particular product to market. And I think that's one of the most rewarding things that we do during our accelerator is we have a program called Wellness Wednesday, where we really dive into the spiritual and even the nutritional, even all these little pieces that are a part of what makes a whole founder, because all of them play a part in becoming a thriving company. I mean, how can you run a company to its best if you're not at your best? And so most people would say that nutrition and how much sleep you get and your connection to your family doesn't play a role in truly creating a great company, but to us, those are key components. And so we're excited to show that those two things merge and how to navigate that, and it's possible. And I love that the people that are on our panel are people who can say without a doubt that not only is it possible, but we've done it. Because so the naysayers can sit down, because we'll have people on that panel talking about how it's possible and they've seen it or they've lived it themselves. So y'all, it's gonna be so good.
So good. So, and what's really cool about the lineup for the 15th, if I could just chime in, Charisse, is that we've got folks who are on the panel who have raised millions of dollars organically, right? And are doing that in ways that they can give back to BIPOC communities, to women-led organizations and startups. But very similarly, there's people who have raised or have curated like millions of followers, right? And really built their brand and their presence alongside of that. And so really just echoing the piece you just said about doing that as authentically as possible. And so how do you make sure that what you're building in terms of your brand and your presence and what you're about continues to align to like what you're capable of raising monetarily? And so I think it's just really cool that we have the dichotomy of like, get out here and get those coins, raise them. Here's how, but also like, here's how to raise a really organic following and community alongside those dollars that you can go get.
Absolutely. And we've talked to VCs very recently talking about how, of course, I think every founder who's listening right now has heard the word traction. Can you prove up traction? That is especially if you're an early stage founder, and community equals traction. If your wait list is strong, if your following is strong, if enough people in your community are saying that absolutely once this launches, I'm downloading it, I'm buying it, I'm subscribing to it, that is traction. And so harnessing storytelling and harnessing those key tools in a way to break through the noise and be able to tell your story in a compelling way that get people to act, or at least get people to say they will act when your company comes online. So it's going to be good. It's going to be fantastic. I will say that those people, please come to our events, yes, but of course, AfroTech is happening at the same time. And for those who are going, I'd love to hear, how do people take advantage of the AfroTech experience? There's so much happening, and I'm just wondering, for those who've never been or don't even maybe know what to expect, how can they really get in there and take advantage of the opportunity?
Look, I'm so hyped too, because I haven't been to an AfroTech in person. This is gonna be our first time all together. I've been in the metaverse, and then I've had the pleasure of attending the AfroTech Executive Series, which are like bite-sized AfroTech conference, but this is a big one. So I'm going to be figuring out this space too. But from what I do understand, and all of the information is available on AfroTechExperience.com, the schedule, the lineup, and it is 4 full days of programming, of fun, of connection. There's a Black-owned marketplace sponsored by American Express, where there's local businesses who'll be available and vending to almost 20,000 people are coming into Austin. Those are the number. Don't quote me, but I think it's somewhere between 10 and 20,000 people who are coming in to experience the conference in some way. And there's everything from like Web3 and how do I download NFT? How do I engage in DAO, to there's like the dopest DJs that are lined up too for the evening events. So it's really meant to be like this full experience of, I'm going to learn, I'm going to connect, I am going to have fun and just be joyful with one another. There's a community event that is part of the AfroTech lineup that kicks off the conference on Sunday. And so we'll all have a presence there. Div Inc will be there. Blavityorg is hosting the community event. And that's for anyone who's attending the AfroTech conference, but also for the community. Because here's the thing. AfroTech's coming. It is going to add so much value, the ecosystem of people that they bring in, but also the dollars that are spent at AfroTech, it's not insignificant. And so that's coming into the Austin community just as much as the people are coming into it. But what we want to acknowledge is that not everybody will get to experience AfroTech. It's during the work week. There are tickets. They cost money. And so we want to say like, hey, thank you for sharing your city with us. Thank you for, allowing 20,000 people to come in and out of a city that you call home. And let us give you portions of access in the event that you don't get to experience the whole conference. But tickets are still on sale. My understanding is that if they don't sell out, they'll be available at the door. The doors open on the 13th and they will run from Sunday to Thursday. And so anyone, whether you're tech focused or not, this doesn't have to just be like about your interest in tech. There are a lot of students who are coming, folks who are just interested in figuring out how to make connections and network. The fellows from our programs are invited to AfroTech, and the hope for them is that they meet somebody who can help accelerate their business, right, and put them on differently. And so the way that you use a conference like this is really up to you, but go into it like with the intention or with an intention. Like, I'm going to meet 5 new people. I'm going to sit next to somebody I don't know. I'm going to like make the ask that feels really uncomfortable, because it is really uncommon for Black people, for folks of color, for women to get spaces that are curated with us in mind and like are meant to be just designed for like our experience and our enjoyment. And while that may be intimidating, I really hope folks who are on the fence of attending, or maybe going to some things and not other, really like take advantage of what it means to be in a space that is curated for you. Because as a Black person, it's just hard. You're usually the only one, and
Absolutely.
you're navigating spaces that like weren't designed with you in mind, don't consider how you think or feel or the music that you like, as you're transitioning between sessions. And Afrotech is an experience that is designed for the Black experience. And so it'll be a really cool just environment to be in if you've never been in something like that before.
Absolutely. And I invite, I'm so glad you mentioned, even if you're not in tech, because I mean, really, at this point and in the very near future, I think all of us are in tech in a way, or at least needing to understand that world. And if you're an entrepreneur specifically, because being tech enabled is, everything is in that space. But like you said, it's not often that we're all able to be in the room and feel that we're at the barbecue kind of
Yeah.
feel, and one of the things that because we know so many things are going on in the city that are ticketed and not ticketed, we are going to start sharing other events that we know are happening within the community for the rest of the week that aren't ticketed. And so those of you who would like to be a part of those other events and but aren't attending the conference, you'll be able to check out the Div Inc website, and you'll see some of those other happy hours and panels. And you'll see some of our Div Inc team will be on panels and doing keynotes. And so, yeah, I mean, even if you're not at the conference, come downtown. I promise you. I promise you, you'll be a part of something. But I can't let you go until I ask one big question for you. For majority of our the people who watch are founders, entrepreneurs who are trying to make it in this world, and I would love to hear your thoughts on or what advice you would give to them, what encouragement you would give to them as they're trying to build something, and maybe are in a high, maybe are in a low, but something that would they can walk away with that would encourage them.
Yeah, I'm going to offer context of contradiction a little bit, because I always think it's really ironic when I have to answer this question that I have an entire 9 to 5 that encourages people to buck their 9 to 5 and like do their own thing. But somebody has to hold space across the lines to make sure that these messages are getting out there. So I just want to offer that that's always the contradictory energy that I sit in when I have to answer this question. But context for just my interest and who I am is I love history. I feel like a really sacred obligation to connect with our lineage and ancestors who were enslaved. And so I spend a lot of time and engage in a lot of spaces of Black history where there was enslavement. And one of my first experiences there was a postcard that talked about one of the woman who was head of the household at this plantation, and saying that, even post emancipation, when everyone was set free, and we know what that meant, that she chose, and it was like that word of like she chose to stay with her owners, as if she knew any different, right? Like how do you impose the word choice over someone who's only known one existence? And
Mhm.
so the advice that I give to entrepreneurs, right, who are like choosing freedom when it's really, really hard, and choosing freedom over and over again when the lure of a steady paycheck or the lure of corporate titles or rank just sort of ring in how our economy and our society work. Like, our ancestors chose freedom when they didn't even know what it was. Like, they dreamt of freedom when they had no concept of what it would mean to be free. And so there's a real deep sense of responsibility and obligation and homage that I think we have as Black people specifically. We know entrepreneurship is not just Black people, but I do think that we are uniquely equipped to choose it and pursue it and sustain it. We just have to reframe our relationship with freedom a little bit. And so I would just invite people to just consider like what their current relationship is with freedom, and keep choosing it even when it feels like something else may be better or something else may be more familiar. Like, freedom is the thing that that we deserve. We deserve that across all things.
Okay, that was I was that was wonderful. I can't even. I'm gonna be sitting in that probably the rest of the day, to be honest. That was yeah, that was amazing. Thank you for that. Thank you for that. And wow, yeah, yeah, perfect way to end our
We thank
conversation.
them for that, right?
Yeah. Um, I'm supposed to now do an outro, and I'm just like. um, but like I said, AfroTech is coming up in November. We will. The link is still live for you to send in your RSVPs. There are some spots left, but if you are interested in going, please get on it. You do not have to have a ticket for AfroTech in order to come to any of our events. They are open as long as there's space. You're welcome to come on in. So visit the our website and make sure to RSVP ASAP, and also follow us on the socials, and connect with Tammy on LinkedIn as well, so that you can be in the know of all the things that are going on. And like I said, we will be sharing, all of us will be sharing all the things that are going on throughout the week, so you can be connected to what's happening and where to show up, and what's going on for AfroTech events and also the other events that are going on in the city. Tammy, thank you so much. Thank you so much for
Thank you,
spending time
Sharice.
with us. I'm like we've said it a million times, but I'm so excited to have met you, to have been able to work with you and your team, and we're about to make some magic happen in November, and it's
It's
going to be
going to be
great.
so fun.
It's going to be so good.
Come, register. Don't come if you haven't registered, but register and then come. So we can plan for you and make sure that we show up for everyone who wants to be there.
Absolutely. Well, thank you all for listening, and thank you for being here for another episode of our Lunchtime Link Up. Until next time, have a great day.